Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Hi, everybody. It's Thursday, November 1st, 2012. It's time for our Talk Shoe Call. Tonight, our special guest speaker is Al Barcroft. If you've done a Google search on him, you probably know who he is. But he's on the line with us already. Hi, Al.
Hello. How you doing, Angela?
I'm struggling along with my voice, but everything else is fine. Thank you so much for coming on. We're so glad to have you. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us about the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act.
Okay, well, the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, I found it about a little bit over 10 years ago now, and for 5 years, I did extensive research on it. And when I say extensive research, I had as many as 5 researchers, paid researchers, working part of the time, and never less than 2. And we researched everything about the act. We went back to the bills that brought it in. We went back to the discussions in the House and the Senate. Went back to what happened, everything that was for and the whole bit. And when we got through, we had figured out what the bill is about and why it is what it is and exactly what it is. So let me start out by simply saying, let me make a couple of disclosures before I get going. First of all, I'm not here to talk anybody into doing anything. I don't have anything to sell. I don't take donations. I won't take any money if somebody sends it to me. I'm here to share what I know. Now, what I know is the way that a person can be free in America. And it is the only way that a person can be free in America. Now, I'm going to start, what I want to do is I want to go through a series of steps to get to the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, because just jumping in and talking about the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act is not going to work. So I'd like to go through a little bit of background and get the thing brought up. And what I'd like to do is at the end of each segment of the deal, which should take maybe 15 minutes a segment, we'll stop, and anybody's got questions, let them ask them, because there's no sense in going forward if we've got people that aren't understanding what we're saying. So to start with, I want to tell you that for the purpose of this and for the purpose of anything you deal with this government, you have to understand that words mean things and specific words mean specific things. Now, there are 2 types of what we call law. There is law itself and there is code. Law is for man, code is for artificial beings. Now, I'd like to jump back and start at the beginning of how all this started. And America started when a group of people in 13 colonies decided to take up arms against King George III and declare their sovereignty. Sovereignty is only gained in one of 2 ways. It's gained by conquest or it's gained by birthright. No other way to become sovereign. When these people took up arms and won their sovereignty in the Peace Treaty of 1783, Paris Peace Treaty, King George III declared that the people of these colonies were sovereigns equal to him. They would be recognized as such by his heirs and by the sovereign community from that point forward. Those are the sovereign American people. When they then created the Constitution was set out in the Constitution. They actually created states, and then you had a 3-party contract called the Constitution. In the Constitution, in the preamble, they tell you who's going to be Americans. When they say we pass the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Now, they didn't say anybody else. They didn't say being born in California did that. They didn't say being born in Washington did that. They didn't say being born anywhere did it. They said it's to us and our posterity. So those are the sovereign American people. And that's where it all started. Now, I would like to stop right there and see if everybody is on board. Is there anybody that has questions about how sovereignty started in this country?
Anybody have a question? Press star 8, and you can ask them. I think pretty much everyone's up to speed so far.
I imagine everybody knows this, but I want to make sure.
Yeah, we got one. Hold on. Go ahead, Shupek. Do you have a question?
Hi, Cynthia in Maryland.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I was wondering, wouldn't it be appropriate to write your own document and just tell them who and what you are?
Well, I don't know. What are you?
Soul, spirit, heart, sound, mind, and body.
Well, I mean, that all sounds neat, and that's some patriot dug that up and thought this out. But the fact of the matter is you're dealing with a very strict set of rules. And doing that is what ends people up in prison or worse.
Why?
And yes, because you have to have some authority. What's the authority to do that? What is the authority to sit down and write your own stuff?
Okay.
Huh? I'm sorry, I didn't understand. What is your authority
I think
to sit down and
she
write
just said
a
okay.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Writing your own documents don't work unless you're a sovereign. So the first thing that you have to do is prove up that you're a sovereign. You have to make that statement. I'll get into that just a little bit later, but if that's the only question we had, let's move forward. We have that system was set up, and the American people owned everything. They run the government, and the government knew it. And that system worked fine, and it worked until the Civil War. And everybody knew. Just before the Civil War started, you had a case called Dred Scott versus Tompkins. It's called Dred Scott. Dred Scott the Supreme Court laid out exactly who an American is, who the sovereign American people are. Now, Dred Scott is a case that still stands. It's never been overridden. It never will be. The Supreme Court says that's right. There are even cases now where it's used where the government actually uses it in current cases. Last one I know of was in the late 90s. But Dred Scott still stands. Then came the Civil War. The Civil War came along. Lincoln tried to free the slaves with the Emancipation Proclamation. It didn't work. So after the war, the slaves were not free until the 13th Amendment came along. The 13th Amendment says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, shall exist in the United States or any place subject to its jurisdiction. Now, that freed everybody. We had no more slaves. We had no more property. That was all gone. However, it gave no standing to the new black free people. They had no standing in the community. Nothing made them a part of the American people. Nothing brought them in under the Constitution, and they were really out there a people apart. In 1868, the 14th Amendment was passed, and the 14th Amendment said all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to its jurisdiction are citizens of the United States. Now, that's the first time that we had that type of a citizen, and it was clearly simply for the newly freed blacks. And we know that because when you look at the process, they say that all persons born or naturalized and subject to the jurisdiction. Now, the American citizen, the American, was not subject to the jurisdiction of the federal government. It couldn't be. They created it. They were the creators. So this created a new class of people. And their rights, which actually were privileges and immunities, which they later named civil rights, were all laid out in the 14th Amendment. Now, it does incorporate a few things out of the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th Amendments in it, but those people have no rights under the First through the 10th Amendments or through the under the base Constitution. So this new form of law called code started to take effect. And for a while, for the next 30 or 40, or for the next 70 years, you had code and law running along on the same path next to each other, governing different people. Then came the time when in 1933, when the government pulled the gold and silver out of the market, or off of the public place, and replaced it with fiat currency for the most part. When that happened, the states all fell. When the states fell, they became not the de jure state, but the de facto state, and that's when their names all went into capital letters, because at that point there was no gold and silver. Under Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution, they no longer were states of the United States of America. Now, what that left was nothing as states except the original 13 states or colonies. The reason they were left is because they were formed under the Articles of Confederation, and the Articles of Confederation is perpetual, and the Articles of Confederation do not have a gold and silver clause on them. So what we had right then is we had a coming together of these two forms, because now the Article 3 courts became very hard to come by. It's very hard to put an Article 3 court. Well, it's impossible to put it into a debt system. In 1939, the Supreme Court brought all this together in Erie Railroad v. Tompkins, in which they said that from that point forward, all cases will be under state law. State law is code. All cases will be under state law except those governed by the Constitution or international treaties. So from that point forward, the presumption when anybody walks into a courtroom is that you're under the jurisdiction of the United States and that state law applies. State law, once again, is code. That's this massive thing called code out here. So when you walk into a courtroom, the first thing that you have to do, if you are a sovereign and you want law to apply, is you have to challenge, and you have to challenge and defeat the presumption, rebut the presumption that you are there under the jurisdiction of the United States. Now, we covered a whole lot there in a real short period of time. So see if anybody else has any questions on where we're at right there.
Okay.
I'm running through this extremely fast.
No, that's okay. I think we're keeping up with
Everybody's
you.
clean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody got a question? Press *8. Well, hold on a second. There's a little bit of a delay, Al. So.
Okay.
We'll give him a few more seconds. I don't think anyone has a question, though. So
okay.
Go ahead.
So let's move forward. There was still silver in the economy. There was still silver out there. So technically, the Congress, the court system could stay out of they could keep their pledge, and they could stay out of problems with the Constitution, because technically they could still convene an Article 3 court. Now, under the Constitution, an American has an absolute right to an Article 3 court. So as we move forward, this got harder and harder and harder to come by. Now, the reason it got harder to come by is the government came up with all these packages and all these plans and all these offers to get people to move from being Americans into being citizens of the United States. So they were getting them to move down 4 steps on the ladder. When this all started, if you had a power step if you had a stair step of power, the American would be on the top rung, the states would be on the second rung, the United States would be on the third rung, and then the United States created the citizen of the United States, so it's a paper entity, and it sits on the 4th rung. Well, suddenly in 1935, they come out and they pass the Social Security Act, and they start offering people benefits to join the group called citizens of the United States or U.S. citizens. And the way you joined it was simply to put yourself in a position where you could accept the benefits that they offered. And at first they didn't offer a whole lot, but as they went on, they offered more and more and more. And more people wanted to accept those benefits. And so how did they put themselves in that position? Well, they took a Social Security number. Once they took the Social Security number, they were capable of accepting the benefits. So as they moved forward, accepting these benefits, they left being an American and covered it up. And they went in, and suddenly they were citizens of the United States. A citizen of the United States is created by a piece of paper. It's an artificial being. That's why they always put the name in capital letters. That's why everything legal puts any legal name in capital letters, because it's artificial. And remember, code cannot apply to a man. The only way code can apply to a man in any way is if he gives his consent to become an artificial being and be covered under it. So we move forward. We get to 1976. In 1976, the last traces of any silver at all that was out there in currency left. We had no more after that. We had a few Susan B. Anthony dollars in 1976. But what that left the Congress and the government faced with was treason. Because now there were still a few Americans out there that hadn't abrogated over, and they had an unmitigated right to an Article III court. And with absolutely no silver or gold on the market, it was impossible to provide an Article III court. So what did they do? Well, they passed an act, and they codified actually parts of the Constitution. And the part they codified was the part that made the American over everything else. And it's called the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. And it was passed in 1976. It's 28 U.S.C. 1602 through 1611 et al. It's not a very long act, but it's the most important act that can possibly be out there for an American. If you want to be free, it's your only remedy. There is no other. I've been chasing this for 30 years. I'm telling you all those other things, all this create your own and state who you are and all that, it doesn't work. You can go through it. You can chase all those rabbit holes. I did. And I can tell you that the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act works. And this is the way it works. You must go in and put into the public record a statement of your heritage, a sworn statement of your heritage. You tie yourself back to one of those people in one of the 13 colonies who were, in fact, sovereigns and declared to be sovereigns and recognized as sovereigns. And then you claim that birthright. When you do that, you have established who you are. That goes into the public record. What you may or may not know is the very best form of evidence in any courtroom in the United States today is a certified copy of the public record. Nothing can rebut it. Nothing can challenge it. So then you take a certified copy of that thing showing who you are. And in any case you're in, you walk in and you file it in that case. They won't let you file it. You go in and ask for a hearing. You take the stand. You read it into the record. And then they can't keep you from filing it. You file it into the record. Then you ask for a jurisdictional hearing. When the jurisdictional hearing comes up, you again enter this in as evidence. If it's not fully in the record at that time, I would read it back into the record, and then you ask yourself two questions. Do you have a Social Security number? No. Have you ever had a Social Security number? No. The case is now over. They can't go any further. I don't care what the charges are. I don't care where they come from, unless they hit one of the exceptions, and all of the exceptions have to do with the number. They lose full jurisdiction. You're right back into the place where that you have full constitutional authority, and it's the only way to get to full constitutional authority. Now, in about 20 minutes here, I've gone through 10 years worth of research and 5 years worth of heavy research, So there's a lot of things that's left unsaid. But we can go on that as the people want to. Anybody that wants to go forward with any of this, the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act is the remedy. The idea is that you have to be an American. There's no other way to be sovereign in this country. You cannot just declare it. If you're an immigrant from Russia, you'll never be sovereign in this country unless you lie and fill out a form and say that you go back to those people in the 13th colony. You can do that because there's nobody that can challenge it. And that's the only way to be free here at this point. There is no other way. And there is no other way out of the law. And where people make their huge mistakes at is they come in and they try to mix law and code. Those two will not mix. You can't go in and start and bring in and be talking about the code and all that and then talk about the Fifth Amendment. It doesn't work. They don't go together. You can't have them together. What I'm telling you is a plan, is a way that works every time. It will work for anything as long as you properly lay the groundwork and you go in and do what you need to do, follow the steps. You can't lose. They can never take jurisdiction over you, and jurisdiction is the whole issue. Once they take jurisdiction, then you're subject to their codes because they cannot hear law. There's not a single court in the United States today that can hear law. So what does the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act say? Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act says that you're immune for the jurisdiction of the courts of the United States and of the states. You have total immunity. Okay. Anybody want to ask any questions?
Yeah, we have a question. We have a whole bunch on the board also, but we have a couple in line here. Go ahead, Illinois. What's your question?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, Angela. Hi, Albert. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. This is Gregory George in Chicago. My question, I hit my question button a little while ago, so yeah, you moved pretty fast, you know. So
we moved too fast, and we can go back and cover anything. I don't know where this group's at. I hate to be redundant. We can dot every I and cross every T. Okay.
Oh, so
you'll get a good idea of where we're at by some of the questions. Go ahead,
okay,
Illinois.
That's right. I will.
Right. Thank you both. First of all, for all the folks that are new to the call or new to the idea, go download and read Albert's 138-page book. It's wonderfully written. And
okay. Well, wait a minute. Let me throw something in. If they want it, go to Angela or get my email and let me send you the new one. The book that is on the internet was written back in the late 90s, and that was before I discovered the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. The new book I did last year, and it includes the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, and it will take all of this out and lay it all out, and you'll understand it completely off of the book if you study the book. So if you want the book, don't download it off the internet. Let me send it to you, or Angela, or somebody send it to you.
Well, there's nothing wrong with what you wrote back then. It's just like...
Well, there is. There is, because I'd say to do some things that you cannot do. And let me tell you what it is. Just while we're there, I want to get to your questions, but you've raised something right there. In that book, I tell you to do some things within the code. I will now tell you cannot. You cannot use the Uniform Commercial Code in any way. There's only two parts of the code that you can use. That's 28 U.S.C. 1602 through 1611 et al. and 26 U.S.C. 508D. Those are the only two portions of the code that I have found that you can use and not be taking a benefit from the code. The reason you can use those two is because they're both exculpatory in nature. They take you out of the code. But using the code, as an example, in using UCC-1-207, That is a benefit when you use that, okay? And I tell you to do that in that first book, and you can't.
Oh, that's a really insightful view, Albert. I got to tell you that. Just the mere quoting of the code is a benefit.
It is a benefit. It absolutely is. If you use it, if you use without prejudice, that's a benefit of the code because that's where it's laid out. It's laid out in the Uniform Commercial Code. So if you use it, that means you must be in the code.
That's a very brilliant insight. Good.
Okay.
Point. Anyway, golly gee, back to the original question. Without belaboring it, you ran off on the citations of various amendments to the Constitution without noting to the folks listening that this is the second Constitution, and I think you'll agree that the first Constitution kind of disappeared around 1812. The 13th Amendment disappeared, and then they started renumbering them under a second one, correct?
No question.
Right.
You're correct.
Right. So this is actually the second Constitution, and it's actually the Constitution of the District of Columbia, not the Constitution of the United States of America.
Well, there's actually two now. There's a Constitution for the District of Columbia, and there is a Constitution for the United States of America also. But I will say this, in relation to that, your real authority at this point in time lies in the Articles of Confederation.
I agree.
Okay, so really laboring, we kind of get off the subject and we kind of let our mind drift. Yes, technically you're correct, but that point is not real important to where we're headed here.
Right.
Where we're headed with the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. If I was teaching a class to bring everybody to that, then yes, you'd be right. But we're talking about the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act at this point. And the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act is dependent on the Articles of Confederation only. Really nothing else.
Right.
Okay?
And that brings me to the second half of my question, and that is this.
Okay.
I happen to be a man on the land of the Illinois Republic. And,
of the what?
Illinois.
Well, how did Illinois become a republic?
By declaration and by the fact that all states were guaranteed a Republican form of government.
And what happened in 1933 when they broke their part of that deal and breached the contract?
Well, but this is. Hear me out quickly. You made a really strong point that the original 13 colonies were bound under the Articles of Confederation under
correct
the original precept that each one was a sovereign nation bound under a treaty called the Articles. It was a treaty between two sovereign nations.
Absolutely.
Right. And every other state that came into being after that, by virtue of that legacy, was bound to all that law, all the way back down to the Articles of Confederation. And it is my belief and my hope, if you will, that any state formed prior to the Civil War could also possibly claim that right.
Well, you can't, and let me tell you why.
Okay, please.
We go back to the Creator and the created. The Creator is always more powerful than the created. Will you agree with that?
Sure.
The Creator can't create something more powerful than it is, right?
Right.
Who created those original 13 colonies?
The people created
those states. Yeah. So they were created by them forming the Articles of Confederation, right?
Well, they were actually created by their own individual sovereign acts, and the Articles of Confederation is the treaty between them.
Put them together. Okay. All right. Now, how did Illinois come in to the Union?
Illinois was part of the original Northwest Territories, and
yes,
when the people of the territory called Illinois decided to form their own state, they acted on their own sovereign capacity to form that state, then petitioned for membership with the union, and we're.
But now wait a minute. Oh, no, wait. Before you go any further there, where did they get sovereign?
Copies of these documents can be found in my private group at Yahoo called Administrating Your Public Servants. For a complete set of YouTube videos with private information shares, a DVD with over 50 searchable law dictionaries, and other books and forms, contact me privately at engineerwin@yahoo.com. And this last paragraph is for all the Satanist order follower revenue officers operating in their private capacity under the Federal Tax Lien Act of 1966. Donations to support this work are appreciated, but I prefer gold or silver coin. But as an extremely less desirable alternative, I can accept the IOUs or the commercial paper from the private money system. I can accept the Federal Reserve notes, the PayPal gifts, the checks, the money orders, etc. Send me an email for particulars. They are a compelled benefit, and so therefore you cannot hold me responsible for your compelled benefits. Anyways.
Authority.
By God.
Well, now you can't go there. Now you're mixing apples and oranges. Sovereignty by God doesn't get into this package, and it's not going to get you through against this government. I guarantee it. The sovereignty is based here.
Then what are you going to do with the poor American Indians that got the crap beat out of them, and they were sovereign here before anybody else?
No, they weren't sovereign. If they they were sovereign within themselves, but they lost it. Sovereign, the way sovereignty is created, when King George or whoever was the king at the time wanted the East Coast of the United States, they go in there and plant a flag and put an army in and say, this is ours. We're going to take it.
So you're saying under the old rules of conquest?
That's what we're under. You're under nothing else. That is sovereignty. And Illinois entered the Union by consent of Congress. They cannot be more powerful than Congress.
So you're saying that, but wasn't Congress the representation of the individual states of the original 13 states?
Absolutely, but anything that comes in under that is subservient to the others. You can't create the same power. Congress was below the people. They could not create something equal to the people. Okay?
I agree. I agree. That's really interesting.
Now that's the problem that you have, and believe me, I ran around yelling I was a Texas state citizen for 20 years. You'll find a case on the internet if you look hard, where I went in and went for a declaratory judgment as a Texas state citizen. Well, I was ridiculous. There's nothing there. Although Texas is the one place that might claim, because of their situation with Mexico and becoming a republic before they joined, you might claim it there. But the fact is that their sovereignty did not maintain, because the North, when they tried to use their sovereignty, the North came down and whooped them and brought them back in, and that killed their sovereignty. A king doesn't hold his kingdom if another king comes and takes it and forces him to do stuff.
So you're saying that using your sovereignty at the point of a gun is legitimate.
Absolutely, that's how you lose sovereignty.
Absolutely,
that's the way it works.
For a speeding ticket, you lose your sovereignty at the point of a gun.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the way it works. The guy that's got the gun. So you have two types of sovereignty. You have two ways of getting sovereignty. Either one of your forefathers went and used the gun and took this land from somebody else and made himself sovereign over it and passed it to you, as in the case of the Americans, or you go and take a gun and take a place and raise an army and say, this is mine, and you can become sovereign over that area. You just got to have more guns than the other guy. That's sovereignty. It's who owns the land.
So much for peace on earth, goodwill toward men.
Yeah, when was that ever here? I don't think that was ever here. So,
it makes for a good Christmas song.
Yeah, it does. And it would work over that other type of sovereignty that you're talking about, which I also agree with. And I'm a Christian. I believe in all of those things. But these are two separate things. God is a sovereign there. But living on this earth, there's sovereignty that's earth-based, and that's what you have to deal with when you're dealing with this government. And if you go in and tell them you're a sovereign from God, as soon as they want to, they just throw you in prison. There is no power there. But if you go in and prove up that you're an American, and you employ the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, they can't put you in jail. They can't tell you to do anything. You can stand in court and call the federal judge anything you want to call him, and there's nothing he can do about it. Okay, Albert, because he has no jurisdiction. Okay,
Albert and Angela, thank you a bunch. You gave me a whole lot more talk and answers than I anticipated. Let me jump off here and let the conversation roll. Okay.
Good to talk to you.
Thank you. We have 3-4 more people in line.
Okay. Okay.
Taptico, go ahead. Did you have a question? Taptico, I need you to unmute yourself. I unmuted you. There you go.
Here I am. Okay. He somewhat answered my question with the previous answer, but what's your opinion of the status of one who has direct paternal indigenous American Indian ancestry, who's not awarded a state through Native American tribal membership?
Well, the American Indian is a defeated nation. They've lived on, with the exception of, I think, the Seminoles, have lived on reservations, which are, i.e., prisons, for all these many years. They lost their land. The white man came in and killed them and stole their land. It's unfortunate, but there is no sovereignty there with regard to the United States. Now, we can raise this same issue with the black man. Can the black man be sovereign here? No. His roots here come from slavery.
We were slave owners as well, and my great or direct paternal forefather was labeled king of his nation on what is now Virginia. They were given a reservation, but we chose not to stay on it, and migrated out to Texas whenever it was, before it was the Republic of Texas. And
if you're looking for fairness, you're not going to get it. It doesn't exist. It's not fair.
So what you're saying is there's really no standing underneath the Sovereign Immunities Act in that regard?
They're not. Now, if your nation was a sovereign nation, and at this point, and you were a sovereign member of that nation, then there could be standing under the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. But I've never seen anything like that proven. I've never seen any claim like that made. And as a general rule, the American Indian is nothing more than a defeated nation. There is just no sovereignty there, as far as the United States is concerned. Now, speaking of a black man, he might have roots back in the Congo that make him sovereign. I don't know, but he wouldn't be sovereign with regards to the United States.
Right, I see.
The United States only has one set of sovereigns. It's the sovereign American people. It was those people that stood up and took an oath to defend their states against King George III, went out and fought, and then King George III recognized them as sovereigns. And that's what made them sovereigns, and that's the only sovereigns that America has. No more. Is it fair? No. But that's the way it is.
All right. Thanks for your opinion.
Yep.
I'm finished.
Is that it?
Angela.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Next, let's see who we have here is Looks like California. Go ahead, California. Did you have a question?
Hello.
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 Did you hear me? Hello, Al. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I was wondering, where does the trespass on the estate, where does this come into play at in all this?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you don't?
Trespass on what estate?
The family estate?
What family estate?
That was created through generations back, the whole heritage of the family estate.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, no problem. Is there a way I could get your email and get your newest book?
Absolutely. I'll give it out one time at the end of the deal. Let everybody get their pencils, and I'll give you an email that you can send me an email, and I'll send you the book.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Okay. No problem.
All right.
Or just send me an email, and after I get it from Al, I'll be able to send it out also.
That'll be okay. If you want, I'll just send you the book, and you can do all that. That would be fine.
That's
be a great idea.
I'll post it on the website. Okay.
Okay.
California,
Sounds
did you have
good.
anything else?
Yeah, just one more question. It seems that I read in your last book something to the effect that there is no justifiable controversy in this matter.
Well,
could you expound on that?
In my case, well, that was in my case. Let me tell you what happened. I went in the state of Texas, we have a declaratory judgment act. So I went in, and a declaratory judgment is supposed to be granted any time that there's no discussion on the other side, that there's nobody that stands up to it. Well, the state of Texas came in. I filed for a declaratory judgment saying I was a Texas state citizen and was a sovereign. This was way back before I learned about the Sovereign Immunity Act and all that. Filed this back in '94, and it took a while for it to get through the appeals process. In that case, the state of Texas came in and challenged it on the other side. And the local judge, the district judge, ruled against me. So I filed an appeal in the 6th District Court of Appeals in Texas, in Texarkana, Texas. And the Attorney General of the state of Texas at that time was Jim Maddox, and he personally wrote a brief. And in the brief, he said that the sovereign appellant, who would be me, does not have to ask the sovereign appellee for any documentation that he's sovereign. He can create his own paperwork. Now, what happened then is the court wouldn't overturn the lower court decision because they said there's no justifiable controversy. In other words, and then when I called and talked to the chief judge of the 6th District, he said, Mr. Barcroft, they're agreeing with you. They gave you what you want. Well, they didn't, because I was wanting them to give me a document saying that. And then I realized later on that it was ridiculous. A lesser authority cannot give you a document saying you're more powerful than them. It doesn't work. The slave can't come in and declare the master has powers. That doesn't work. And that was where the justifiable controversy came in, or no lack of justifiable controversy. That was a legal ruling, and I now think it was correct. Did I lose y'all?
No, we're right there with you.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Remember, I'm a long ways away, and sometimes we lose this thing. Okay.
Listen, if it goes quiet, it doesn't mean you're off the air. What it means is maybe that I lost my connection. So
okay.
Don't give up the ship. All right, we're going to move on. We've got North New Jersey in line. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. First, we have John Stewart. Go ahead, John.
Angela?
Yes. I can hear you.
Al, it's
yes, I hear you.
How are you, buddy?
I'm real good. How are you doing?
Well, they ain't killed me yet, buddy, but God knows I wish they'd quit trying.
Well, they're not trying very hard, or they would have.
Well, no, they're just lousy shots. They just really are. You know, I don't know. I guess their education just is lacking. Hey, Barry, I don't know if you want to go into it with the group, but, you know, pursuant to our most recent discussion, which was obviously a while ago, over the SCOTUS case, because I think there's a little bit of, you know, there's a lot of people listening in that have their own different opinions, and most of them have followed a lot of the pay the idiot and patriot idiot crap.
Yep.
But with that latest SCOTUS case that basically went unpublished, I think it's important that they know when they have to invoke their rights, because you know, even in my situation or Josh's, it can be such a major problem if they just.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. I just wanted, just asking you the favor of maybe bringing that up.
I appreciate you bringing that up, because that is something that you know, that is a recent thing that's happened. It can't be published, by the way, John. You can't publish that because it's in law. That was a law ruling. They can't publish that.
Right,
okay?
But it's something that I think is so important, and I'll just let you explain. I just wanted to have you start that out.
And I appreciate you bringing it up. Thank you very much. I appreciate you bringing that up. Okay.
All right, I'll let you explain it, and I'm just going to sit back and listen.
All right. Thank you for calling.
Thanks, John.
What the Supreme Court ruled just this was about 3 months ago. We had some cases. One of them, one that I helped with, that went up to the Supreme Court because the people had gone in with an indictment, had tried to claim sovereign immunity after they had gone through their arraignment. And the Supreme Court came down and said, nope, you have to claim sovereign immunity at first instance. That means that you have to be set up, you have to know what you're doing, and when I think it's at the first instance in the court, but to be perfectly and completely safe, you want to claim it when the cop arrests you or when whoever comes out after you. You claim sovereign immunity right then. That the court has ruled had to be. They've ruled that it has to be claimed at first instance. They didn't come down with a full ruling on what first instance was. So if you claim it, though, at the time that they first approach you, well, then you've got it done. But if you go through arraignment, go through the process of pleading and all that, they're not going to let you come back and claim sovereign immunity later. Now, that has changed because I had some people that were able to do that in the past. But they're not going to allow it to happen anymore. So if you decide to go the sovereign immunity route, you absolutely have to do it first off, right out of the bat. You can't do it any other time.
Okay. We have another one. Let's see here. North New Jersey, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Yes, I do. And how's everybody doing? Okay, I came in about 20 minutes into the show, and I heard the guest say that the black man can't be sovereign because his roots are in slavery. That's not true. The black man's roots is in the building of the civilization of the planet Earth. We gave technology and everything else. So for anybody to be a sovereign, you have to go to your own lands. We are indigenous people of the planet Earth. And when I say indigenous, I'm talking about the Moors, because the Moors built the pyramids, if anybody understands what I'm saying. So our roots are not rooted in slavery. It's rooted in the architecture and civilization of the planet Earth. And also, if you check the true term of American, and I think it's in the 1900s in the Webster Dictionary, you see that the term American means the copper-colored tone people of planet Earth. Thank you.
All righty.
So I'll just say take that to the federal court and see how far you get. Where you'll get is to prison, and you know
I got
that's your call.
I got a case dismissed. So I'm going by experience. I've been to police court and my case got dismissed. Thank you.
We'll just have to agree to disagree. Okay.
All righty. I think that's it on the questions for now. So if you want to continue on.
Okay. As far as the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act goes, that's the whole thing. The Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, let's go over it a little bit, because you need to understand what it is. When you go in and read it right off the bat, you're probably not going to understand what it says. So let me, first of all, and any of you that can, go in and pull it up on the Internet. It's easy to get. Just put in Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. Fine Law is a good place to get it. And let's read it and let's discuss what it means. Because, once again, this is the only remedy that you have if you want to be free. There is no other. The statute says, the Congress finds that the determination by the United States courts of the claims of foreign states to immunity from the jurisdiction of such courts would serve in the interest of justice. Sorry, I got my paper messed up here. And protect the rights of both the foreign states and the litigants in the United States courts. Under the international law, states are not immune from the jurisdiction of foreign courts insofar as their commercial activities are concerned. Now, I want you to know that to have a commercial activity, you have to have a Social Security number, okay? And their commercial property may be levied upon for the satisfaction of judgments rendered in claims against in connection with their commercial activities. Claims of foreign states to immunity should henceforth be decided by the courts of the United States and of the states in conformity with the principles set forth in this chapter. Okay, then that's the statute. That's what it says. Now, let's go down and see what the words in this section mean. To start out with, we go to 1603. 1603 is definitions. Now remember, I said words mean things, specific words mean specific things. That's very important in this connotation. 1603, under definitions, for the purposes of this chapter, a foreign state, except as used in section 1608 of this title, includes a political subdivision of a foreign state or an agency or instrumentality of a foreign state as defined in subsection B. Now, let's stop right here for a minute. The Supreme Court has ruled that to avoid constitutional confusion, that the word includes is a word of limitation, not a word of inclusion. So what it means is that any time that a code or a statute uses the word includes, what is in the definition is only that follows. It's not. As an example, when it says the United States includes the District of Columbia and the territories, well, the District of Columbia and the territories are all that's in the United States in that definition. Well, in this definition, you're going to see in a minute what we're talking about, because this says that the definition of foreign state includes a political subdivision of a foreign state or an agency or instrumentality of a foreign state. Then we go on down. An agency or instrumentality of the foreign state means any entity which is a separate legal person, corporate or otherwise. Now, a man is a legal person. He's a legal person that they never get control of, but he is a legal person. Number two, which is an organ of the foreign state or political subdivision thereof, or a majority of whose shares or other ownership interests is owned by the foreign state or political subdivision thereof. Now, that one threw us. That took us a long time to figure out, because this comes in and says that you're an organ of a foreign state. Then we found the New World Webster's Dictionary, and it gives one of the definitions of organ as a constitutional entity. So the farmers, the people that formed the United States of America, were in fact organs of that foreign state. And then anything that they owned would also fall into that category. Number 3, which is neither a citizen of a state of the United States, as defined in Section 1332C and E of this title, nor created under the laws of any third country. Now, if we go to 1332 of this title to find out what they're talking about there, you'll find that the United States is defined as, let me just pull it up here real quick. The United States here is defined, the word states is defined as used in this section, includes the territories, the District of Columbia, and the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico. So now, if you're not a citizen of one of those 3, you fit that part of the definition. Then the last part is, and which is neither, which is not created under the laws of any third country. Well, this took us a while to figure that out. But when we got down to all of it, we figured out, and we've proven now, that the third country, the first 2 countries, are America and the United States. So what most people think the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act was written for, which would be somebody from France or Brazil or Argentina or wherever, can never be in it, because their authority comes from a third country. So when you get down and you walk it down to its very bottom, this can affect nobody but an American. This is all this is for. So when we move forward in this thing, then you get into 1604, which gives total immunity for all of the. If you fit the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, you have total immunity from all courts of the United States and of the states. That means they can't hear any case against you. That means as soon as you walk in there, prove who you are, you're out the door. Now, the next part, 1605 through 1607, are exceptions to the immunity. Well, the exceptions to the immunity are all commercial. You have to have a Social Security number. If you have a Social Security number, it's an exception to the immunity. So if you have a Social Security number, you've gone by consent and you've waived your sovereign authority, and therefore you're not subject to the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. And it's really that simple. Now, getting yourself in a position where that you're not subject to that stuff, that may not be so simple, because people today are tied very heavily to that Social Security number, and I know it. But I can tell you that you don't have to use it. And I can tell you can do very well not using it. But it's not a simple process. It's a hard process to get started. It gets easier as you move on. Okay, as far as the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act goes, that pretty well takes care of it. If there's any.
Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to click the bell next to the subscribe button so that you are notified when there's a new upload. This is the front page of my channel, and notice the arrow is pointing at the bell. You click on the bell, and what will happen is a pop-up will come up with a little box that you have to check that allows you to be notified when there's a new upload.
Questions on it? Well, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, there's a question on the board that Karl is asking. What style of court is the guest talking about? I don't know what that means.
I don't really understand that question. What style of court is there? Any court in the United States is what I'm talking about. You have immunity from every court in the United States.
And Whoop-de-Doo is saying, and yeah, but they used fraud to get me to use that Social Security number.
If you use a Social Security number, you're given authority. You're given authority to that court. The overriding presumption, anytime you walk into the courthouse, is that you're subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. That's what Erie Railroad did. The Erie Railroad case said that the presumption from that point forward is that everybody is in there under the code. So you have to defeat, by rebutting with superior evidence, the fact that you're under the jurisdiction of the United States. If you have voluntarily taken a Social Security number, you are under the jurisdiction of the United States by your consent. So you can't go in with a Social Security number. What you have to do is take the stand, prove that you're one of the American people, so the sovereignty stands, and then prove that, and then take the stand and say, I don't have a Social Security number. That's the way it works. And once you do that, they're out of luck. Nothing more.
Okay, so I guess the next question is then, well, we've got two more in line. I was going to go ahead and move forward with, well, how do you get out from under it? But hold that, and let's see what the people in line want to ask. We've got two from Illinois. So go ahead, Illinois.
How you doing?
We're doing great.
This is Michael from Illinois.
What's your question?
I was going to have a statement and with a question, kind of. Earlier, it was mentioned that the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act cannot be utilized retroactively. Is that what was being stated? That you have to, in the beginning of court, you have to let them know that your status, that you're under the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act because of your link to someone from the 13 colonies, or such as, an original American.
That's right.
Okay, and however, it states here in the Supreme Court decision in 2004, Republic of Austria versus Altman, 541 U.S. 677, the Supreme Court decided that you can retroactively utilize the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act.
Well, the Supreme Court said just 3 months ago that you can't.
3 months ago they said you can't?
3 months ago, yes.
I must have missed that. Do you know where that case is?
That case is in law. It's not part of case law. It's in law. We carried a case up on a guy that had been indicted over this 1099 OID deal.
Okay.
And that case went up under law. And the Supreme Court ruled that you have to claim it at first instance.
So it's no longer retroactive. So that would be that the 2004 decision must have been turned over. No, I understand.
Well, I don't think there was a decision like that in 2004.
Okay, well I understand what you're saying now, because you did say earlier that law and code are like apples and oranges, and now I'm starting to understand what you're saying. That this decision 3 months ago was in law, and what I'm reading right now is a code. So I understand that now. So I want to thank you for that.
There's a difference.
My last comment. I appreciate your upfrontness and honesty, being a person who used to call themselves Black or African American, and having studied my family tree, finding that I actually have descended from the original 13 colonies. And I did find in Black Law Dictionary that just using, and in the case of United States versus homicide, just using the word Black, Negro, colored, and a few other words kind of does place you as a descendant of a slave. So I do agree with you on that in law, and have seen that in law, And I've seen that in the case of the homicide. And the reason that they were able, who they call Free Q, was able to become free later with the help of many Americans, was that he didn't claim that. And I also seen the same thing in Plessy v. Ferguson, and I also seen the same thing in another important historical case, such as the one you mentioned earlier. So I can say as a person of African and American background that I do appreciate your upfrontness, and people need to hear these things so that they can read the law for what it is on its face, rather than...
Okay, well, let me say this to you. You know, what people really screw up on here is that they think a black man is a issue of his color of his skin. It's not. I've had black clients who claim to be a descendant of Thomas Jefferson and walked in to the courtroom and walked out a free man. It's a claim. This is all a claim. Nobody knows who your grandma messed around with. You can make the claim. And if you make that claim, nobody can rebut it.
And now
that's up to you.
I agree with you because I have found that in my family. I have descendants that fought in the Revolutionary War. Luckily, I found that out, and I have documented it, and it does match with my family tree as well as my genetic testing that I took. So I appreciate you for that and for clearing that up for them, because I think a lot of people who are descendants of Moors, which I am a descendant of Moors from Azru, Morocco as well, get that misconstrued. And I understand what you're saying, but it does take, for us novice learners, it does take a little more, a few more words to connect us with what you're saying.
It takes a little bit of imagination sometimes, but I've done it plenty of times. And I will say this, just to end this little deal. You are who you say you are.
Thank you very much.
Okay? And when you go into a courtroom, they have to have you say it. They have to have you say who you are. That's why if they want to put in your bank records, they have to bring them to you and hand them to you and say, well, you signed this. And you have to say yes. If you say you didn't sign it, they can't put it in as evidence. You have to do it. In all my years in this, I have never seen anybody go to prison that kept their mouth shut. Okay? It's running your mouth. You generally go to prison out of your own mouth.
Appreciate it.
Okay?
Very good. Okay. Let's see, we have another person from Illinois. Sorry about my voice, folks. Go ahead, Illinois, you're on.
Hello, Angela and Al. Sorry to jump back in. I don't want to monopolize anything with Greg.
Okay.
Real quick. Number one, Al, you said something very early in the call, which we all ought to take to heart, and that is the first instance. And I've been thinking about that since you started talking about it. If the first instance is you're filing your claim on the public record and going over to the miscellaneous category of your county recorder's office and dropping it in there like a little bomb and leaving it there, the court has to take judicial notice of that being the first record of your claim. No matter who arrests you, calls you, does anything to you, it's on file in their system, right?
Yes, and you understand why it's that way, don't you? You see, that system, that system is a paper system.
Right.
They have to be right. The public record has to be right. That's why I can go into court if I want to, and I can, for the purpose of this particular case, I can prove that the sky was purple on September the 3rd of 1922. Because I can go put that in the public record. I can then take a certified copy of that public record and enter it into this case, and nobody can do anything about it because it's the public record. And when I put it in, how are you going to rebut the public record? They can't be wrong.
Well, they can rebut the public record. That's the whole point. is if you put it on the public record. No,
that's right.
Oh, I mean, really, if you make a statement on the public record, the purpose of that is to allow public scrutiny and rebuttal. And if a period of time, 90 days goes by, a year goes by, and nobody rebuts it, it becomes fact in law.
Well, 30 days is the time limit, and I will say this. If you made it the day before court, who can rebut it? If you say, I'm the great-great-great-great-grandson of Thomas Jefferson, how are they going to rebut that?
Well, they're not, but, what I'm trying to say is the appearance of an impropriety, right? If you're doing it at the last minute, it could look like a Hail Mary pass.
Doesn't matter what it looks like. If you've got immunity, it doesn't matter. Now, maybe if you're dealing with a jury, but I don't deal with juries. I don't deal with juries, and I don't deal with judges' decisions. I deal only with out-and-out discharges. They can't even dismiss this case. They discharge it. They cannot keep the record. When you walk out, the record is totally expunged.
Right, as if it never happened.
As if it never happened, because it never did happen.
Right.
It's just like an annulment. Same thing.
Right. And so, taking the idea forward then, if you then develop the idea to be able to defend yourself at the time where a police officer pulls you over, it could be rebutted. He could lie and say you never said that. That's the point I was trying to make that you made earlier.
Yeah, but that's the reason that I believe that the Supreme Court meant that first instance would be first instance in court. But I'm not going to take that, for granted, because they may be playing a recording. They may have a recording, and you may not get it if in fact you make the claim. But if you didn't make the claim, they might play it to prove that you didn't make the claim. So it's safer just to go ahead and make it right then. I mean, why not?
I mean, you should do it over and over again, but I'm just saying, from what you said earlier, it seems to me that everybody's best medicine would be prevention. Prevention would be getting a statement in the county court recorder's office so that it's on the record and unrebuttable.
Be prepared. That's exactly right. And, that's exactly, you're exactly on. Have it ready to go, have it already done, and be ready to move with it. If you can carry a copy of it with you, fine. If not, memorize the volume and page number that it is in the record, because you can actually put it in the record by testimony with that volume and page number.
There you go. Thanks.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple more.
Okay,
KL Direct. Go ahead, Carl. Did you have a question?
Hey, Ange.
Hey.
Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. Yes, sir. I didn't catch your name, but my name's Karl Lents. And I was just wondering, you were saying sovereign immunity for all courts. Is that what you were saying?
No, you're fading in and out.
Yeah, but was he talking about sovereign immunity in all courts?
All courts in the United States or the states, yeah.
What about a common law court of record? Would you have sovereign immunity?
There is no such thing. There is no such thing.
Well, under Chorus Juris Secundum, under Section 344, it's all federal district courts are courts of record.
Mm-hmm. There is no such thing as a common law court.
Okay.
Okay.
Is this not a common law land? Or is this do we have...
No. What land are you talking about? The United States?
No.
The United States is a code.
Okay.
Code-oriented.
I'm saying, are there federal district courts in this land? Can I go down the street?
There are no district courts in this land anymore. A district court would be an Article 3 court, and there is no such thing anymore.
Were they outlawed?
Do what?
Were they outlawed?
No, they went away. They went away with the Erie Railroad decision.
So did the Constitution go away? Is there a reason why
No,
I can't?
the Constitution didn't go away.
Is there a reason why I can't invoke the Ninth Amendment and rely upon the Constitution to move my case?
Do you have a Social Security number?
No, sir. That's not proof of a claim. That's irrelevant to my claim.
That's not irrelevant to your claim.
What's
if
that?
you have a Social Security number, you have waived the Constitution.
How would they know if I had how would they know how to provide that information to them? If somebody's done me wrong.
Follow this through for just a minute, okay? When you walk into the courtroom, the overriding presumption is that you're under the jurisdiction of the United States. Okay? That's the overriding presumption. That stands. If you don't rebut it, that stands. The only way you can rebut it is to show who you are and that you haven't entered a contract that would cover that up. If you have a Social Security number, it covers it up. So you have to first prove who you are, and then you have to go in and give testimony that you don't have a Social Security number. If you do that, then you have First Amendment or First through 10th Amendment rights. If you don't, you don't have it. And claiming it is a foolish thing to do. Doesn't work.
Okay, hold on. Let me unmute you, Carl. Okay, go ahead.
You had me on mute there, and
yeah, there's a lot of echo and background noise coming from your thing. So it would be great if you would unmute and just mute yourself when you're not talking. But anyway, go ahead.
You know what I'm saying to this man is there's nothing in the law that says that I can't move into a common law court of record. If I have an argument,
there is no common law court.
Okay.
You don't have any common law courts.
If I have an argument with my neighbor that his cow walked into my, what kind of court would I bring him into?
You'd take it into a code of court. I mean, a court of codes.
What happened if
That's all there is.
What happened if that
there
animal?
There is nothing else.
What happened if that animal that caused destruction of my property isn't under that code? So
there is no court other than courts of code. Every court out there today is a court of code.
Oh, sir.
Now, you can argue it any way you want to. You can make all these things. Every court is a court of code. There are no courts of law. There is not a single court in the United States today that can hear law. There is not one that's competent to hear law. You cannot have law in a debt system. It can't exist. Okay. Now, if you want to go out there and play your games and do this, what I call mental masturbation with common law courts and all that, fine. Go ahead. It's not going to work. You're going to lose. But when they want to, they're going to put you in prison. But do whatever you want to do.
All right. Well, Carl, we're going to have to just agree to disagree on that one and move on here. Let's see here. And we're going to have Carl on next week, next Thursday, and you can hear him out. So for your future reference. Okay, Martindale. Go ahead, Martindale. Did you have a question for Al Barcroft?
Yes, a couple questions, if you can hear me all right.
We can hear you.
You saying that in our statement that we record at the courthouse, that since I'm a living being in upper and lower case letters, that I don't have a Social Security number, that my straw man has a Social Security number.
Oh, that's bullshit. That's all bull.
Okay.
If you have a straw man, you're in the system. And they're going to send you and your straw man to prison together. I mean, that's all patriot BS. That's all that is.
But I can still claim
total patriot BS.
I can still claim
I just
Social Security number.
Do what?
I can still claim then that I don't have a Social Security number.
If you have a straw man, you have a Social Security number.
Yes. Almost all.
You're the beneficiary. That's all BS. You know, you got a lot of people in prison right now using that use that kind of thinking. That doesn't work. What you people are doing that is you're trying to beat the system You want to take the benefit, but you don't want to pay the cost of it. And you ought to be put in prison. And they're putting a bunch of you in prison, and they'll put more of you in prison because you're cheating. Yes. You're taking benefits that you have no right to. You entered into a contract when you took that Social Security number, and it's a mutual contract between everybody. And yeah, when you go out there and you take stuff that doesn't belong to you and that you don't have a right to, they'll put you in prison for it. And you can go up there and say, "Oh, Judge, my straw man did that." The judge will say, "Well, you and your straw man go to prison together." That'd be good. Yeah, because that's all BS. That's total BS. Listen, I've looked at all that stuff. I lived it for 20 years. I believed it. I went down the path. None of it works. I've seen hundreds of thousands of people go to jail with that kind of stuff. It doesn't work. It can't work. You're trying to cheat the system.
I have firsthand knowledge that it doesn't work. But I'm trying to understand that you're saying that I could still go in there and say I do not have a Social Security number.
All right, let's talk about that a little bit. The first thing that you do is you have to quit using that Social Security number, okay? And then let's talk about a little thing that's in the common law statutes. This is a maxim of common law. That means that somebody under the Constitution can use this. And it's something called constructive fraud. And what it says is that if you enter into an agreement and you didn't have all the details and you got defrauded, you can declare it null and void at its inception. That's the same thing as annulment of a marriage. Now, I'm going to tell you that not a single person has ever had a full disclosure on a Social Security number. Nobody ever told anybody that as soon as you take this number, you're going to be subject to all this code that you're not otherwise subject to. You're going to be paying 50, 60, 70% of your total income into code that you otherwise wouldn't have to do. Nobody told you that. Nobody said we're going to rule your life completely from this point forward under code, not under law. So it was constructive fraud. Now, only constructive fraud is only constructive fraud if the victim claims it. He has to call it constructive fraud. So as long as you keep your number, you don't yell constructive fraud, it's not constructive fraud. But as soon as you do, it is, and it vitiates the contract ab initio to its beginning, and it never happened. So now I can take the stand and I can say, Your Honor, I don't have a Social Security number. I've never had a Social Security number. Now, if anybody questioned me and I was telling it all the way down the line, I'd say, hey, for a few years of my life, I thought I had a number, but I was wrong. It's just like if I married a woman in 1970, and in 1973, I got that marriage annulled. Well, if somebody asked me in 72, are you married to that woman? Yeah. If somebody asked me in 75, were you ever married to her? The answer is no. I thought I was for a while, but I wasn't. It's the same thing.
Announcing a subscription-based YouTube channel called Sovereignty International. The recommended cost of the subscription is currently $1.99 because it avoids the advertising only. Originally, when I set up this channel, I was planning on having some exclusive content, and there is exclusive content on it, but the only power that these New World Order Satanists have over us is through fraud and deception, and my agenda is to expose it for all of our benefit. And for that reason, there'll be very little exclusive content on that channel. I'm currently publishing actually 5 videos a week on the subscription channel, and 2 videos a week on the free channel because of all of the training videos that I'm uploading. Some people had trouble finding the channel, and so there's a link at the bottom. Some of the exclusive content that I've already uploaded is there's an Arlington private information share. There's a couple land deed training videos that where someone helping someone with their land, bringing forward their land patent. There's 2 of those. There's also an estoppel certificates training video. There's a foreclosure estoppel certificates training video. There's also corporate denial training. And upcoming training is going to include criminal complaint training, invoice training, lawsuit training, as well as notice of void judgment training, revocation of signatures training, and there's actually a toll roads notice and demand training that's already up there, and third-party witness training, and then any other training that that I can see that I need to provide. Anyways, this is the front page of the channel, of the subscription channel, and there's the top arrow is pointing at the link again if you need to find it. The bottom arrow, somebody sent me a $1.99 donation, and so I wasn't sure if they wanted me to sign them up for the channel or if it was just a donation, so I actually sent them an email and offered to refund it, but they never did respond, so I guess it was just a donation. But so the point being is that I have absolutely no control over subscribers on that channel. I can't even see all the subscribers. I can see some of them. But so if you want to subscribe, you got to click on the start free trial button. YouTube is going to want some probably some payment information or something like that in order for you to subscribe. Anyways, that's the way it's got to be.
Uh-oh. What happened? Uh-oh.
I'm still here.
Oh, but I think we lost him.
Yeah.
Al? Oh, my goodness.
I had more questions.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he'll realize he's not on and call us back. Tony, if you got a way to call him and let him know, I'd appreciate it. Because I didn't get his number. So if you're still on here, give him a ring. Damn. I hate when that happens. Tony, are you on here? Extra bucks? Oh, okay, I'll let you. You're probably trying to call him, so. All right. We'll have a moment of silence. Oh, it's amazing what happened in New York. We'll talk about the hurricane. I feel so bad for those people. And the subways are all flooded out in New York. It's amazing. Anybody want to talk to me while we're waiting? Go ahead, John.
Angela.
Yeah.
Angela, how are you?
Oh, I've got a sore throat and laryngitis.
Let me turn off my computer volume. I'll cover some time while we're waiting for Al to call back in.
Okay.
He's not in the country, so it's probably a little bit more difficult for him, and it's probably somewhat expensive.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, first of all, there's few people in this country that I think knows law better than me. Al being the few, the total of the few, actually. It just cracks me up, some of the things that people are saying on this chat board.
Let me see. Are you back? Hold on. Are you back, Al? Oh,
here.
Is that you? Are you back?
Are you
Al.
there? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
You dropped
Sorry
off.
about that. That happens sometimes.
We were just having John Stewart fill in for you.
Well,
Go ahead, John. Did you want to finish your thought?
Well, I'm just saying that the people out there with the comments on the board and stuff, and none of them have won cases like Al. Guys, you need to chill out. You need to pay attention to what he's saying. He's right. I've checked this stuff. He knows what he's talking about. And if you want to argue with him and continue to be wrong and never win a case, why don't you do that somewhere else and let the people that are trying to learn this stuff learn it? And you guys need to listen. You just listen and ask the appropriate questions and quit arguing. And Al, I really appreciate you doing this because I know you probably got better things to do, so I'm just going to mute out and keep listening.
Appreciate it, John.
Thank you, John.
Jill,
all right. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. A couple follow-up questions, Al.
Okay.
Does your book address the issues? I know a lot of people on the call, along with myself, have IRS liens on me, and I have problems with property taxes, right to free travel. Does your book deal with those issues?
Well, no, the book doesn't deal with that issue, but let me tell you this. It becomes very problematic if they get to the point of putting a lien on it. The problem that you have is this. The only way they get a lien on there is that they have made a determination at some point based on a number, based on a Social Security number. And when they made that determination, they followed through and they carried through all of their little administrative functions in it. And what it did was it attached their number to your land. Let me move back a little bit and explain how the system works. Let's talk about a bank account that you go and open up, and you open it with a Social Security number. That bank account belongs to them. They're a cosigner on it with you. That's why they don't need a court order to go seize it. I've heard that thrown out here many times that they're unconstitutional. They went out and took my money out of my bank without a court order or anything. Well, it's their money. You gave it to them with the number. The same thing is true with the land. If you bought land, to start out with, you can't own land. And land is the only thing that's really protected by the Constitution. And there is no land in the United States for sale. You can't buy it anymore. It all went away, at least 100 or more years ago. So you can't even go back and declare constructive fraud on it, because it was all changed from land to something that belonged to the state. The land went into the state, and what they created and what they came out and what you bought was real estate. And it's not land, it's actually the use of the land. But the state always owns the land. That's why they can tax it. So it becomes very problematic when they take numbers over here out of where you were probably using a Social Security number and got an attachment against you. You got these things were reported on you as income, and you didn't go and fight them, and you didn't do those things. You didn't dole them out at that point. And then they go over and attach it to this that they already own anyway. And now you come in and say, well, I don't want you to do that. Well, I can tell you that's happened to me. And I don't know anybody that followed it through more than I did or anything else, but they did this to me. Now, could they put me in prison? No, they can't put me in prison. They can't touch me. Did they get that land that I bought back there in the 70s that I bought on a mortgage with a Social Security number on it? Yeah, they got it. And, I have not found a good way for that. That's the one thing I'm still researching, is a way to use the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act in an offensive manner to sue with it. I have not figured out how to do that. I can use it all the way down the line on a defensive deal, but the problem is they don't bring a case against you. If they brought a case against you, you'd have a chance of using the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act and proving that they don't have jurisdiction. But they don't bring a case. They've got it wrapped up over here in rules and regulations where they can take it without actually suing you. So it makes it extremely difficult to take care of that kind of stuff. And, there are ways to do it within the code. I've done it for other people within the code, but I'm telling you, that's not something that I can figure out a way to do with the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act is a defensive mechanism, because if you go into court and try to bring a suit against these people, you give jurisdiction. And then you're going to want to turn around and say you don't have jurisdiction. It's a ridiculous position to be in, and you'll never succeed with it. So as far as the liens go and all that, I would probably attack them under the Fair Lien Act. And I'd probably fight in that way. But I don't have a good way of doing that, and I'm not going to tell you I do.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, we have another. Let's see here. Cleveland, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Angela, I just wanted to get in touch with the man who said he was from the Moorish Nation. I had some questions on that subject. Can you have him give you his email, and I can give you mine tomorrow, maybe?
Yeah, I tell you what, both of you send me an email and put Moorish in the subject line. That way I'll just forward you to his.
Is he still on the line?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have to look. I hope so, too.
Thank you, Angela.
You're welcome.
All right.
And I'll check for that tomorrow and the next couple of days. And if I forget, remind me in a week. JC or somebody forgets.
Okay, thanks.
All righty, we're going to move on. Thank you. Was that it? Did you have any?
No, that's
anything else?
it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next in line. Go ahead, Illinois.
Hey again, Angela. I was just letting you know that I was still here. One of the guys from Moroccan background.
Okay, good.
I'm still on the call.
If y'all want me to forward emails to each other, just put the same thing in the subject line, Moorish.
Okay.
And you're welcome. All righty. Carl, you know what? I really don't want I don't want this call to turn into a big argument. And I know you have your point of view. And I hope you can just save it for next Thursday. Because I really don't, I'm in no mood for the arguments, and we have a lot of people in line, and I can barely talk. So, stand by. Martindale, did you have another question? Martindale, did you have another question? Or was that? Okay. Oops. Carl, what did you want to say? Well, let's not make it an argument. Okay. Carl? Where'd you go? Okay, well, North New Jersey, go ahead. Did you have a question for Albert Barcroft?
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, no,
go ahead.
The young lady was asking for my email address. I mean, can I give it to you? You can give it to her, or because I don't think I have your email address.
You know, you want us to put it on the call?
Or you can give me yours.
No, I don't put mine on the call. I don't do that anymore. Because I get like a gazillion emails.
Okay, I can put the
my
website
email address is on, myprivateaudio.com.
Okay.
And my email is at the bottom of the page of the contributions where it says donate here. But you don't have to donate. But my email address is at the bottom of that page.
Okay, then. I'll do it that way.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, moving along. Southeast Pennsylvania, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Yes, I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. My name is Carmen. I have a question. The gentleman, I heard about him actually through George Gordon. That's why I'm curious. It's interesting because I don't know too much of what people are discussing on the chat and what I'm listening to on the computer because I'm basically new to all this. I've heard about the UCC, but I've never done any of it. I'm trying to deal with some other legal battles with the child custody issue. That's what I'm trying to really focus on right now.
So, Albert, how would you approach a child custody issue with the Foreign Sovereign Immunities?
First of all, this is not this is not the UCC we're talking about. And second of all, if you got out of the system, CPS only has power within the system. If there were no numbers, CPS has no authority. But if you're in the system, they have authority, and the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act is not going to work. It only works if you're out of the system. So it's not going to help at all with somebody that's trying to fight a battle with CPS if they have Social Security numbers and are in the system.
So how can I get out of it so I can be able to get custody back of my child?
Well, you would have to get out. You would have to make your break, get out, and probably you could probably then go in as a matter of law and force them to do something. In all truthfulness, I've never handled a case like that. I've handled a lot of cases, but I've never handled one like that. And I'm not going to sit here and speculate on what you could do. I would be willing to look into it a little bit for you and see if I could figure out a way to do it, and I don't know all the circumstances. That would be a private matter that we'd probably need to talk to in private, and if I could help you, I would. But I don't, once again, that's not my area of expertise, and that doesn't mean I might not come up with something, but that's not an area that I'm really acquainted with. So, and I don't think the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act would be for you. You'd have to get in front of a judge and be declared, outside the system. You'd have to, beat the jurisdictional issue. Then I don't think that they could bring you in. If you could get your child at that point, I don't think they could bring you in and take it away from you. But that's what the whole issue is. The whole issue is that your child is a ward of the state.
Well, yeah, I did figure that out. I found that out due to a birth certificate and Social Security number. That's what I did investigate, but I have not done any more investigation on that.
No question. That's it.
So,
that's the tie that binds. That and the marriage license. If you got a marriage license, the child started out under CPS authority. Then, if you put a Social Security number on it, it got that much worse. And then you went in and the court got jurisdiction, and the court is a court of code, and they got jurisdiction of the matter. And, you're a long ways down the line at this point, but there might be a way to do it. But like I said, that'd be a particular case that you'd have to really do some research on and find out. And I've never done that. Most of the things that I'm talking about, I've researched extensively. So in most of the cases, when somebody asks me, I've got a pretty good idea about what's going on. And when people start talking about stuff I know is bull, I know what's going on. But in this case, I really don't know. But I might be willing to talk to you and get some details and see if I thought there was a way for you to proceed.
Is that something going on with his phone, or is it just me?
I don't know. I'm having trouble with you. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but it's like you're out in traffic or something. Sounds, did you move, or you were coming in real good there for a while?
No, I'm not there. Really. Nothing happened. Would you like me to hang up and try to call back?
I'm afraid you might not be able to get in at all, maybe. It's really hard to have. Yeah, please call back.
All right, I will hang up and call back immediately, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay. My goodness. Wow. Am I still hearing it? Oh, there. Okay. All right, everybody, just stand by. He'll be back, hopefully. I have to watch for his thing is non-member. My goodness. It's an interesting call, isn't it? Gosh. Ruffled a few feathers for sure. I'm sorry, I have a bad throat problem, cough, and cold. Well, I don't have a cough. I have a stuffed up nose and laryngitis and a sore throat. So, this never happens. I never get sick. This is the first time in a long time. I caught it from my son. It's only a 24-hour deal. It shouldn't be with me much longer. Okay. Let's see here. We've got 2 more people in line to ask a question. So let me check here. Nope, he's not back yet. So it's really interesting, but you got to hear him out, because he's found success with this method. So, and I believe John Stewart too. If you want to be free from the IRS and all the rest, truly want to be free, you have to give up all the benefits and privileges that go with that Social Security number. Basically, that's it. And so you have to make a decision. It's a tough decision, especially for people that have been relying on government benefits and privileges a long time. It's hard to, once you reach a certain age, unless you're like Al and have accumulated a massive wealth, it's tough. It's just a matter of how can you look at yourself in the mirror, And if you can and still keep it, then that's good. Silver dandelion extract and elderberry juice. Oh, thank you. I will try that. Thank you, Mountain Dog. Colloidal silver, dandelion extract, and elderberry juice. I could make the colloidal silver, but I don't have the dandelion extract and the elderberry juice. That would require me to have to go out to the store, and that ain't happening. It's cold here in California. It got chilly, which I love. I'm so thankful. But anyway, we're still waiting for Al to get on. Al, if you come on with a different name other than non-member, press *8. And that'll put you up in the queue. Queue is such a weird word. Tony, why don't you come on and say something? What have you learned from Al so far? I guess not. Well, wait, he'll be back. I'm sure he's trying. But you never know. And he's offshore, so. $5,000 milligrams of what? Oh, okay. Sambucus. Okay. Okay. What? Wait. I'm looking at for all of you. Angela G89. No. I'm not going to say that. Dr. Herman says, cross out the OMB, and anywhere it says, under penalty of perjury, cross out, then sign. Re-sign in, reserving all liberties. It's a good chat board tonight. It's a big mix of stuff, except for the spamming, the ambulance chasing Lewis Ewing. Such a pain. Truthbug says 20 drops of grapefruit seed extract and a couple ounces of water else helps knock out a virus. Angela, how do I get on the list for Al? What list? I don't know what list you're talking about. Oh, he has an email. Email me. What I'm going to do is I'll put up a spot for him and his contact information, if he wants to anyway, on the website, myprivateaudio.com. Then you just go to the guest speakers page and click on his name, and there will be information there. Or I could just forward your email to him. So, I like what he has to say, It's all about learning new things. Let me see if he made it back on yet. Let's see him. Oh, look. Is that you?
Hello?
Yay. Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello? Yeah, I can hear you. Great.
Yeah. Okay. I've been listening to you for the last 10 minutes.
Oh, no kidding. Well, I kept checking and it didn't say.
CubeYard.com. For great custom websites, domain names, and hostings, go to CubeYard.com. Use coupon code CY172 for 20% off your first order. CubeYard.com, your source for websites, domain names, and hosting.
There's a delay between what actually happens and what shows up on my moderator board here. So, because I was watching. Sorry about that. Okay, go ahead. Where do we leave off?
I don't know. I don't know if there are any more questions or not. We might be through. If there's more questions.
There's questions, but I think we were talking to. Who were we talking to? I forget. Oh well. See here. Next in line is Gigi Boss. Go ahead, Gigi Boss. Did you have a question?
Yes. Hi, Angela. Oh, I hate hearing you sound like that. That's not that's not normal. So I just hope you get well soon and
Thank you.
Get better.
I will. I'll be better tomorrow.
I know that's right. We're gonna put it in the universe.
That's right.
Well, I wanted to I've heard of Mr. Barcroft, and I never heard heard him speak, but I did hear you, Angela, say he was not. Is he not in the United States? Are you not in the United States?
I'm in Guatemala.
Oh wow, I was in Belize for almost a year.
Really? Hell, I'm real close to Belize.
Yeah, I was right there.
I retired and came in. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I stayed in Belize a while. Yeah. I like it down there. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I left the United States 2008. I just packed up and left. I wasn't trying to come back. But like you said,
that's about what I did. Yep. Same thing here.
Okay. How long have you been there?
4 years.
Wow. You came, same time. Okay. Okay. Well, I just wanted to ask you about your book because I just came on about 10 minutes ago, and I heard.
Okay. I think what we're going to do is I'm either going to give it to Angela, and she can put it on the website, or she can email it out to people or whatever.
It'll be on the guest speakers page. Right. It'll be under, when you click on Albert Barcroft on the guest speakers page, it'll take you to the link where you can get the book and anything else he wants to share with us. I'll link it.
Yep.
Okay. Now, Mr. Barcroft, well, I just heard you, Angela, say that, that he had acquired, his wealth. And, I want to get out of the system. I've been taking my names off everything that I can think of, the voter polls was the first thing, and registration polls and all that crap. So, does your book tell us how to do what you've done?
Oh, well, yeah, it tells you. What my book does, it's really a history lesson. And it takes you from the time the country started up to now. And it tells you how it happened. And it lays out, and it's going to have things in it that you've never read before. But you go check them out, and you're going to find out they're accurate. And, you know, it ruffles some feathers. I've been called racist. I've been called all kinds of things. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I tell you the way it actually happened doesn't mean that I have feelings about the way it should have happened. I do have, and I don't think it happened the way it should have. But I'm telling you how it happened. I'm telling you how it happened, where the power lies, where the remedy lies, and there's really not anything to argue about. I mean, you can argue, but you can't come with any type of authority that will be different than what I give you, because I've researched this more than anybody you know, especially with regards to the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act and all that type of thing. I just made it a priority, and I spent a lot of money on it, and I spent a lot of time on it, and then I've utilized it. And I know it works. I know it's exactly what it's supposed to be. So I'm not all that smart, but I am single-minded, and I've really locked in on this particular thing. And I know it probably better than anybody around. I've never met anybody that knew as well as I did, and that's not an egotistical statement. I just never have, because I don't know anybody that has worked on it as hard as I have. So the book does tell you what you have to do. It tells you the steps. I mean, it doesn't say, you know, go down to this, go down to that, but it lays down everything where you'll understand the system that's there. And when you read it and understand the system that's there, it's pretty easy to figure out what you have to do. And anybody that reads the book can ask questions. I'll be more than happy to talk to them privately.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Angela.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along. We have Southeast Pennsylvania. Sorry. Southeast Pennsylvania, are you there? Do you have a question for Mr. Barcroft?
Yeah, we had gotten disconnected. I was the young lady that had asked him about the child custody issue. How can I get your email so I can email you some information, and then you can be able to tell me what should I do from there?
There's going to be a way to contact me on her website. I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, but she and I will work it out. Angela and I will work it out. And anybody that wants to contact me will be able to contact me.
Just go to the website, myprivateaudio.com, and after tonight's call, click on the guest speakers link at the top, and then you'll see a list of names, and then just click on Al's name, and there'll be links to more information.
We'll give you some contact information there, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I was.
And then after we've done that a little bit, I'll call you privately, and we'll see if there's anything that I can help you with. I don't know if there is or not. I mean, like I said, that's something that I've never been involved in, so I don't know that I can help you, but I do know that I can look into it and see if there's a way to go about it from a sovereign standpoint.
Okay, yeah, because most of the in the court order it states that for me to be able to gain child custody back, I have to have a job, which I'm not working right now, and it's very difficult where I'm residing at to find employment.
I understand. Code is a cold thing. Remember, it applies only to artificial beings.
Okay. All right, well, I will actually look on my private audio and be in contact with you.
I'll respond to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Okay. You're very welcome. You too.
Southeast Pennsylvania, do you have access to the Internet? I mean, you should probably come back and grab the chat that's being... There's a transcript of it. You can get it after the call. And it's got it's a transcript of everything that's been typed into the chat. Okay, anyway, we're going to move along. Central Texas. Go ahead. Did you have a question for our guest speaker?
Hey, this is Lonnie. How are you?
Who is this? I'm sorry.
This is Marty, Al.
Marty out of Central Texas.
Marty. Oh, hi, Marty. Yeah, okay.
What's up,
okay. How you doing?
Well, I'm going along, just stay at time.
Yeah?
I've known Al for over 20 years, and we used to study together a long, long time ago. And I lost track of you since you got on your boat and flew south.
Well, I sunk the boat and settled down there. So that's the story of my life.
And I'd like to talk to you in private sometime. How do I get a hold of you, or do you still have my old email address?
But if you'll go to the website to Angela's website after the show, I'm going to give her the information that she can put on to contact me with, and then I'll call you.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I got some issues, and I was right on. I mean, this Social Security number, I haven't used one for over 20 years, 22 years, and you get rid of it.
Yeah, I remember that. You quit right after I did. Yeah. You quit using it right after I did. Yeah, I remember.
Back in 89 is when I quit using the Social Security number. 89, 90, somewhere right along in there.
And how you doing without using it?
Well, it's not easy. I mean, you're living in a world that uses Social Security number for identification, which is completely off base. But it's an issue that you got to deal with. None of my kids have Social Security numbers, and that doesn't make it easy. But you have to learn to be self-initiative and work for yourself and do things to live in a system that's based on all this fraud. But it's right. I mean, there's no question about it. It's right. And a lot of people don't want to hear that, and they don't want to. And they think you're an idiot, you're a kook, you're like, I've been called everything but white. And it's just, it's not an easy life, but you got to make a decision. I've always told people if you're not willing to, you can't straddle the fence, and if you're not willing to make a stand and make a correct stand, then pay your ransom and stay out of jail. Have I not told people that, Al?
I say a lot. I always tell people, not everyone is meant to be free.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, not everybody's meant to be free. That's
it's a personal choice.
Yeah.
Personal choice, and it's not as easy, but you can actually do well. I haven't used a Social Security number since '84, and it's been good to me. I can't complain at all. It's worked well for me.
Yeah.
But I was fortunate and blessed and all that. But the fact of the matter is, that we are so benefit oriented, and we've listened, and we've fallen into this course of letting the government do stuff for us for so long that it's very difficult to break yourself of the habit. It's like an alcoholic. It's hard to quit, taking that little nip, as it were. And so, that's all a personal choice. It's not, I don't consider you bad or anything else if you use one. It just separates you in your classification of who you are. And
and the option is available.
You really are.
Right, the option is available. If they want to be truly free,
absolutely.
This is what you would do.
Exactly right. Yep.
Okay, we have a question
right.
from the board asking, do you know George Gordon?
No, I know of George Gordon, but as far as I know, we've never met.
Okay.
But I know of him.
Okay, let's see here. What else? What is the opinion, fact, regarding the internationally accepted law of agency as being a lawful legal representative of a Oh, got blocked off. Okay. Anybody else have a question? That looks like it for the questions. We've gone 2 hours. How do you feel?
For me, I feel fine.
Do you want to go on, or you want to call it a night, or
if anybody else wants to talk, I'm not in any hurry. Whatever you want to do, Angela.
Okay, well, we just got another question up. Hailstone, go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
How you guys? We hope you feel better, Ange. Anyhow, Al, so if I'm understanding you clearly, what you're stating is rescind, get rid of the Social Security, don't have no more attachments to that.
Can't rescind. You cannot rescind a Social Security number. Like you have to have never had it.
Well, how?
Okay.
Okay, and so however you do that, then you have to make your claim and statement that you are somehow related to the original 13 colonies and have that done prior to your
direct descendant.
A direct descendant. Now, you mentioned that you don't necessarily have to prove that, but you have to make that statement?
Yes, because sovereignty is a claim to start out with. And you make the claim, and once you put it in the public record, they cannot deny it.
Oh,
they
okay.
can't dispute it.
Okay, so then there's going to be people that can make
record.
Okay, one at a time, guys. You got to understand there's a delay. There's like a 3-second delay between when we start and stop talking.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So
Ben, did you have anything?
You put it in. You put it in the record, and it's a sworn affidavit as to who you are. In my particular case, I happen to be. It all happened to be right for me, and I do go back there, and so I went my father to his father to his father, and I put my lineage in there, and then I claimed the sovereignty, and I would be willing to share, the type of stuff that you put in for anybody that's serious about putting it in. I'm not going to stick it out there for everybody that wants to be curious and all that, but anybody that's really serious, I'll help them do their document. I'll make sure they get it right. And it's not a tough document. It's a simple document, and it says who you are, and it claims your sovereignty. And when you put that in the record, they're going to have all kinds of trouble, with the fact that they just can't defeat it. It's undefeatable because the system is on paper. The public record is the paper. It has to be right. It can't be wrong. Therefore, the certified copy of the public record is the very best form of evidence you can put into court, and nobody can defeat it. Can't be defeated. I don't care what they do. They can't get up there and rebut the public record. It is the public record. And in a code system, hey, that's all there is.
Okay, so then, those that have already or can make that connection through their ancestry would be fine and dandy to add that to it. For those that cannot, how would you suggest being able to make that claim?
I'm not going to sit here and tell you to lie or to commit perjury or any of that. But what I will tell you is this: nobody knows who your grandma messed around with.
Well, so you just simply make the claim that you are of the heritage of the colonies. You wouldn't have to go about any type of heredity.
Sovereignty is a claim.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Sovereignty is a claim, yes.
Okay, that was my little confusion there. I was just trying to, clarify that. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah. It's a claim. You're very welcome.
Next up we have here California. Go ahead, California.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, hey Al, I just wanted to ask another question. Do you issue negotiable instruments?
No, negotiable instruments are code.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just curious because you say
That's
everything.
the definition. I don't. No,
well,
I don't
you
do
said the whole
anything
system is you said the whole system is debt and paper and all that. So.
Yes, but I don't participate in that. remember I said there's only two parts of the code that I use. That's 28 U.S.C. 1602 through 1611 et al. And 26 U.S.C. 508B. That's because those are the two parts of the code that exclude you from the code. If I use any other part of the code, I've taken a benefit from it. That makes me a party to it.
Okay, so you don't operate in commerce at all with bank accounts or anything?
No.
Well,
now, wait a minute. Do what now? Bank accounts?
Yeah, you don't operate in commerce? Yeah, with bank accounts.
No, I don't operate in commerce because to operate in commerce, you have to have a Social Security number in the United States. Down here, they call it a NIT number. But do I buy and sell? Yeah. Do I have money in banks? Yeah. Is there a Social Security number on them? No. I'm not in commerce. To be in commerce, you have to have a number. You can't be in commerce without a number. So,
I hear you.
So no, I don't operate in commerce at all.
So now, with your bank account, with your bank account that you have, or bank accounts, whatever, with no Social Security number attached to it, are you still not able to do negotiable instruments?
Well, what are you talking about when you say negotiable instruments?
Promissory notes, etc. Promissory notes.
Well, you can do a common law promissory note if you want to. I mean, a promissory note is a matter of law. You can do that.
I was just curious. Do you issue promissory notes or any kind of paper stuff like that? Negotiable instruments.
I personally don't issue anything. You see, there's one other part of the code that, although I don't use it, the Supreme Court has made a ruling on it, so you can't be brought in. And that is, the Supreme Court ruled that you cannot be held accountable for compelled benefits. Now, getting a bank account with a Social Security number, that's not compelled. You can get it without it, and you don't have to have one. But using Federal Reserve notes, that is compelled. If you want to live there and buy food, go into Walmart and shop and all those neat little things, you have to use Federal Reserve notes because they made everything else against the law. Therefore, it's a compelled benefit, and the Supreme Court said compelled benefits cannot be held against a person. You can't take a compelled benefit and say that that you're participating in the system. So I do use some compelled benefits like Federal Reserve notes, but personally I have no need to do any of the other, and I do have bank accounts. And the last bank account I got, I had to sue Bank of America to get it, but they gave it to me, and to end the suit. And I probably never will get another one up there. I have a bunch of accounts down in this part of the world, and that's me. I've found a way to live my life the way I want to. Everybody has to find their own way, and I've helped a number of people do that. I'm not the only one doing this. There's a number of people. You don't hear about them because they're outside the system. Nothing there. Nothing ever worked. There's no records of them. The people that have gone into court with indictments and walked out because of the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, there's no record of it. It went away. They can't keep records on a sovereign. Once you prove up that you're a sovereign, that's it.
Okay, I have found also too that there is remedy in the codes also, and this has
but
worked
not for
me.
A sovereign.
This has worked very.
In the code.
Okay, the system is always compelling something. They're always compelling for the SSN generally on almost all occasions, right? Okay, so.
Yeah.
At 42 U.S.C. 408(8), it makes it a felony to compel the disclosure of the Social Security numbers, which could result
against
in
any law of the United States. Which you're not quoting that completely. Yeah, it has to be against the law of the United States. Okay. And what they've done is they've written code in such a way that it's very hard to show that it's against the law. Now, for many years, we did use Title 5, Section 552A, under disclosure of Social Security number, where it says no federal, state, or local governmental agency shall deny any person any right, benefit, or privilege because of his failure to give a Social Security number. That made it unlawful, and we used that some, and I actually forced them to give a number of people driver's license and all that without a Social Security number over to get it. But they've cut up, they've crossed out a lot of those with writing new code. A lot of that stuff has been covered up, and I've been really out of that part of it for about 5 years now, and I understand that they've even covered up a lot more stuff now. It makes it much more difficult to use Title 42, Section 408D. And I used that many times, but that was before I quit using the code.
Okay. Well, I've used it numerous times, and it's worked tremendously to stop them in their tracks from compelling the
What
SSN.
did you get? Just curiously, what did you get done by using that?
I got a debit card where they wanted the SSN, and they were adamant about getting the SSN. I absolutely refused and quoted this to them, and they went ahead and in time they validated the card without the SSN.
And did you have a bank account without an SSN?
No, I haven't had a bank account without the SSN. Not yet, but that's coming.
But you have a debit card. You mean a prepaid debit card where you put money up for the? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
well,
so
I'm not here to tell you.
Yeah, I went round and round and round with the supervisor on this deal, and she just wouldn't budge, and then finally, next thing I knew, the card was validated.
Let me just make one suggestion to you.
Okay.
If ever you are indicted, quit doing that immediately and get rid of that debit card. If ever you're indicted, because that's going to come out as a benefit, that use of that deal, and you're going to have to deny that. You're going to have to deny the use of that because it is a benefit to take advantage of the code to force an issue. And when you do that, you're taking benefits, and therefore you owe the consideration. I mean, this is a very, very tangled up mess that they've got us in.
Yes, it
and
is.
Everything's tied back to it, and it's demonic, is what it is.
Yes, it is.
But
yes, sir.
If you're ever indicted, I'm just telling you, and you want to go in and use this to kill everything, you need to be clean of that type of stuff, and you need to deny that you used Title 42, Section 408D.
Okay, thank you for that info.
I'll just give you that as free advice, okay?
Okay, let me just one more question. Just one more question, I'll get off of here. The current system, the way it is now set up, in your opinion, how long do you think this system will continue to go on for quite a while the way it is,
No.
or do you think it'll
No.
change?
Can't because the economy can't hold it. It's this is a debt society, and it's reached the debt limit where that it can't continue to go. It's going to fall not from the system itself, or not from the court issues and all that. It's going to fall because the economy is going to fall. When the economy goes under, it'll all go under. It'll take it with it. You'll have a completely new form of government. And I don't think that's very far off. I think, the only thing that's holding that all together at this point, and really the whole world, and this sounds strange, but really the whole world is being held up right now economically with one thing, and that is the fact that the American dollar is the standard currency of the world. So as long as it is, the United States can stay afloat. If the United States goes down, they're going to drag a lot of people with them. And they can stay afloat because it doesn't matter what somebody wants for their product. If they want it in American dollars, or Federal Reserve notes, I should be saying, then they can print it and give it to them. if they've got a coffee cup they want $1 million for, and the United States wants it, they just print up $1 million and hand it to them. And that's what they've been doing for a lot of years now. And until this system will hold up, until everybody quits taking the U.S. dollar as the world currency. That's how long it'll hold up. After that, it can't hold up. In fact, it'll go down within a week after that happens, after it goes the other way. And for those that are wondering, that's why Gaddafi had to be killed, because he was coming with a gold-backed currency. So they had to kill him.
So when this system does change, will it be necessary for us to still claim our sovereignty, or is that will be something of the past?
Well, you're probably just going to be having to defend yourself at that point, because when the system fails, what you're going to have is you're going to have all these people that are used to getting all these benefits, and they've had them for so many years, for so many generations, that now they feel like they have it. It belongs to them. And when they don't get their checks and they don't get their food stamps and they don't get the thing, that's going to be the same thing as stealing from them. And that's when the riots start in the street, and you're going to defend everything you've got. And I believe martial law will probably be declared, and there'll be a number of things. I'm not an expert on any of that. I just, I'm sitting there looking at it, and that's what I believe. I tell you about the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, I'm telling you from authority. Tell you that, I'm just another prognosticator out here that, I thought it was already going to happen, so I'm not that sharp on this. Hopefully it'll last another 50 years. But I don't see how it can, but that's not my area of expertise. So.
Okay. Thanks again for your time, Al. Appreciate it.
Good. Thanks for calling. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Florida. Go ahead, Florida. Florida, did you have a question? You've been unmuted. Maybe you need to unmute yourself. Oh, Florida. Or did you fall asleep? All right, well.
Hi. Hello?
Okay, great. There you go.
Yes, I had a question regarding identification once you do away with the Social Security number. Al, do you have a passport? If you were in the States, how would you identify yourself?
Well, I do have a passport. A passport is not a benefit. A passport is covered by the Constitution. The American people gave the United States the control of our borders, and they also gave themselves the right to travel freely. So the United States, in controlling our borders, has to give us a way of ingress and egress. So that's not an issue as long as you don't get it with a Social Security number.
Now, does your passport
you
say
need to do it without a Social Security? Well, yeah, but, the Constitution says U.S. citizen, too, in Article 1.
Uppercase, not lowercase.
Now, I will say this. I believe, and this is the one thing that I'm really researching right now and got people working on. I really believe that there is another passport for sovereigns. I believe there has to be. But I don't believe that you're taking. Yes, I think there is. But they're not quick to give it to you, and I've pressed for it, and I've gone to the Secretary of State, and I've demanded it, and I keep getting this other passport. But I do get it without a Social Security number. And, that's the way you need to do it. And if you don't take a Social Security number, it's not going to tie you to anything. The Social Security number is the tie that binds. That is it. If you stay away from it, you're not going to be bound to all the things like the tax code and the Title 18 and all the other titles that are out there. You're not going to be bound to them if you don't have a Social Security number, unless you're bound to them naturally. As an example, you're an immigrant from somewhere, which means you're in here with the permission of the United States. That puts you under their jurisdiction. But if you're an American here and you don't have a Social Security number, they're never going to be able to tie you to that deal, to the system.
And one other question for you. I understand that the use of the act is for defensive purposes. However, and I understand the concept of being double-minded, particularly in court. My question is, how would this action prevent you from utilizing a federal Title 42 suit?
Okay. What most people in a Title 42 suit, especially a 1983 suit, which is where most people want to go, the problem is that you're going in there and you're trying to mix law and code. If you go in under Title 42, you are going in under the code. That's a benefit. If you go in there, you can't go in there under law. You cannot mix code and law. A sovereign has no place in that court. So if you go in and do that, you're saying I'm one of these citizens of the United States that's subject to this jurisdiction, and this is what I want to do. And I'm using my authority as one of these citizens to do this. Now, you can't do that and then say I'm sovereign and the court has no jurisdiction over me. I mean, do you see the fallacy in that? That what the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act does is it denies all jurisdiction over you to the courts of the states and of the United States. So then you're going to walk in and give them jurisdiction? Because that's what you're doing if you go file a Title 42 suit. You're passing jurisdiction to the court. So when does that jurisdiction end?
It's mixing medicines.
Do what? I'm sorry.
I said it's mixing medicines is what you're saying.
That's right. You can't mix law and code, and that's what 99% of the people out there do. They try to mix code and law. You know, they throw in law claims with code, with code authority. They try to come in and use the Fifth Amendment in a code-oriented case. Doesn't work. Can't work. What actually happens is the judge takes, like, as an example, somebody comes in and wants to plead the Fifth. Well, if you look at the very first, generally it's Article 1 of the state code that you're in. It will give you certain things in there that says you have a right to. One of them is to remain silent. One's to have an attorney. One's to, the things that you think are Article 4 and Article 5 issues. It's in the government code. And when you go in and claim, as an example, Fifth Amendment privilege in a court, the judge takes silent judicial notice that you're actually asking for it under the government code. So you're not getting Fifth Amendment, you're getting the government code. Now, in that particular case, it works the same way. But you don't move into the law just because you say, I want Fifth Amendment, and then they don't make you testify. Well, they didn't make you testify under government code, not under the Fifth Amendment.
So even though you have a U.S. citizen as your all-capital name, which is proven by your passport, if there's an injury to that U.S. citizen, essentially by utilizing the Sovereign Immunities Act separately in a defensive matter, you're saying that you're going to have problems.
I'm going to have what?
Because you're going to have problems in a federal court.
No, I'm not going to have any problems in federal court because at the very least, at the passport, at the very least, intrusive situation is a compelled benefit. And if it is, in fact, a benefit, then it's compelled. And a compelled benefit can't be held against you. So I can still go into a court, and trust me, I've been into federal court many times, both with myself and other people, and use sovereign immunity.
My contact information is my blog is SovereigntyInternational.wordpress.com. My website is SovereigntyInternational.fyi. My email address is engineerwin@yahoo.com. My YouTube profile is Sovereign Living and Sovereignty International. My Facebook community page, I deleted it due to censorship on the part of Facebook. And my private group at Facebook called Sovereignty International is being deleted. It takes time to ban 17,000 people off your group, and I'm not going to let them profit from my hard work. My Yahoo private group is called Administrating Your Public Servants. My Google private group is called Administrating Your Public Servants. And follow me on Twitter at EngineerWin.
Where passports were involved and actually came into play in the court. So the passport is not a killer. Neither, by the way, is a driver's license. A driver's license is not a killer unless you use the Social Security number to get it. Otherwise, all a driver's license does is you're agreeing to the driver's code. It does not tie you to the tax code and all the other codes, only the driving code. But if you use the Social Security number to get it, now you've taken a benefit from the major system, and that does tie you to all the others. So there's some things that you can do without, and you can grant certain jurisdiction without granting all the jurisdiction. You grant all the jurisdiction if you use Social Security number.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All righty, next we have Hailstone. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could please briefly go through the process that you would use to cancel your Social Security contract.
Okay, the process is easy. Quit using it.
So you don't do any type of process to actually destroy the account and the number through Social Security?
No. You can't.
Well, then,
there is no method. There is no method by which you can rescind or cancel a Social Security number after you turn 18. Until you turn 18, you can. But after that, you can't. There's no vehicle to do it with.
Well, wouldn't
so what is it that you do?
You quit using it.
Just quit using it?
Then when you go into court, well, you declare. But when you declare, this is to yourself. You don't have to go out and make a declaration of it. You say, hey, look, I got shimmied into this deal. I'm out. This is constructive fraud.
Oh, so you
then I go into then the first time I get brought into court, I go in, I take the stand, I ask myself the question: do you have a Social Security number? No. Have you ever had a Social Security number? No. That's the witness, Your Honor. Then they'll junk out, and this was way back when, because they hadn't done this to me in a long time. They pull out your last tax return you file and throw it out there and say, well, this is your tax return. This is what you made, da-da-da-da-da, and you signed it right here. No, that's not my signature. Nope. Couldn't be my signature. It's got a Social Security number on it. I don't have one. Now, that is not perjury, because your Social Security number was annulled, as I went through a little bit earlier. You annulled that for constructive fraud. They did not give you full disclosure. If you ever had a Social Security number, you can't get rid of it. So you never had one.
So your annulment is basically your declaration.
That doesn't do anything with your Social Security number. I would not put that in my declaration if it were me. Now, some people do, but I personally wouldn't. That number, here's the thing. Anything you go and write that number down on, what are you doing? You're admitting that it exists. I'd never admit that it exists, because it doesn't exist, because they lied to me to get me into it. They didn't give me full disclosure, so it never existed. So I would never admit it exists. I go sit down and do up a document and say, hey, number 4222222 doesn't exist, and I'm, that's not my number, and da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, that's a whole lot like I get these clients that would want to go out, and they would want to do a declaration to the Internal Revenue Service that, hey, I'm not under you, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and I've never done anything to move under your authority, and I don't make any income, and whatever. And so you know what I say to them? I say to them, okay, listen, that's not the declaration I want to see. I want to see the one that you did to the government in Mexico saying that. And they say, what? And I said, I don't want the one to the United States. I know what it's going to say. Give me the one you did in Mexico. Well, I didn't do one to Mexico. Well, why not? Well, because I don't have anything to do with Mexico. Well, do you have anything to do with the United States? Well, no. Well, then why would you do it to them?
Well, then in reality, all
you don't have anything to do with the United States. Huh?
So in reality, what you're really doing is you don't really address that issue. You're just simply addressing that you're entitled to the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act through your declaration, and you don't actually. And I have. That's right, and I have no contract covering it up. Okay, gotcha.
Because the way I address the issue is, I say, this is all it takes to win a jurisdictional hearing. You put and I usually have my people, and I read it into the record, my whole statement. That way there can be no misunderstanding. And then I ask to admit it. Give it as Defense Exhibit 1, or whatever I am, maybe Plaintiff Exhibit 1 if I'm in for the right kind of hearing. But anyway, it's my first exhibit, okay? Then, after I've done that, I take this. I go ahead and I ask myself the two questions: do you have a Social Security number? No. Have you ever had a Social Security number? No. Ask the witness, Your Honor. They're screwed. There's nothing more they can do. They will never get jurisdiction of me unless the U.S. Attorney comes up there and starts throwing stuff out, and I start admitting stuff. If I admit that that's my signature back there, well, now I'm screwed. We just turned it around. But as long as none of that belongs to me back there, as long as that number never belonged to me and all that, they have no jurisdiction over me. And the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act is going to make them turn me loose. And you know what? They honor it. If you do this right, they honor it, guys.
All right. Well, it sounds good. I am looking forward to reading your book.
Okay.
Very good.
Let me know what you think of it.
All right. Thanks, Ance. Thanks, Al.
Thank you. Okay,
Yeah,
Illinois. Yeah. And I think this is going to be our last one. What do you say, Al?
Greg, one more time, I guess, first and last.
Okay.
Since we're discussing the idea of courts, jurisdiction, and foreign immunity, let's just take an imaginary visit to how would the nation of France file a lawsuit against the United States or any of its subsidiaries.
Well, they'd file that in an international court. But let me say this. Although that Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act was not meant for it, there have been foreign countries that have used it and filed under it. But
it's
to confuse you, because if you read that statute, if you read the entire section of the code, it doesn't apply to France. It only applies to Americans. But they've allowed some of those countries, mostly in South America, to come in, sovereign entities in there to come in here and use it, and that's to mislead you further.
But
because you see, a court, when they come in, they have the right to give jurisdiction if they want to, if somebody asks for it.
But if they already did it, and it's in the framework of their court cases, would it be a place where we could? Would it be a place where we could also, under the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act, following that court pattern, file a suit against the federal government?
Okay, now you're asking a question that's one of the other things that I'm still on top of and working on. I believe, and I've only tried this one time, and I was semi-successful with it, but not totally successful with it. I believe that a sovereign can bring a case in two places. Number one, he can bring it as a case of original jurisdiction on the law side of the Supreme Court.
Okay.
The Supreme Court wears two hats. Okay? I believe you can bring it as a case of original jurisdiction on the law side of the Supreme Court. I also believe that there's a way to bring it in the United States Court of Claims, which happens to be outside the United States.
Right.
So you're not in the venue jurisdiction. It's in Rockefeller Plaza, and it's outside the United States. It's where the UN is. And I believe that you can probably bring it there and use the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act and sue the government there.
Could you bring it in The Hague?
But I haven't been successful with it. I don't think The Hague would entertain. Yeah, I don't think they would entertain it. We've looked at all of that. But, our first deal in all of our research was...
Check out some of my other videos, Bankster Thieves 1, 2, and 3, Roman Cult Slave Scam Series, Bankrupt Corporate So-Called Governments, Bar Members 1 through 3, Do-It-Yourself How Not to Volunteer for the Selective Service in the Draft, Martial Law is Here, Do-It-Yourself No Income Tax, Do-It-Yourself No Sales Taxes, Do-It-Yourself Traffic Stop 1 and 2, Do-It-Yourself Free Mail, Do-It-Yourself Kangaroo Courts 1 through 9.
To get free within ourselves here. Now, would I like to sue them and win? Yeah, I sure would. But the first thing I wanted to do was get to where I didn't have to worry about them throwing me in jail. I'm going to tell you something right now. There's not many people that have been in this for better than 30 years like I have, that have challenged them like I have, that have beat them like I have, and have never seen a day in jail. The only time I've ever seen the inside of a jail cell is when I went in to visit somebody, one of my clients or whatever. And they've never been able to get me, and believe me, they have tried. They've been after me a number of times, but I've always been able to walk on it because I always use the fact that I'm an American and I'm not bound to any of that, and I've walked out every time.
Well, Al, we got
and now they've got to where they don't even try.
Well, Al, we got a great group of people here on the western shore of Lake Michigan that are pretty sharp tool sheds, And at any point in time where we can put our heads together and have some fun, that'd be great.
Well, I'd sure be willing to, do whatever, as long as somebody is open-minded. Now, I'm not. It got a little bit loud a little while ago, and all that. When people start coming with this patriot BS that can't possibly work, it's ridiculous stuff. When people start talking about sovereignty, because they're part of the human race and because, of this, that, and they help create the planet and all that BS, I've just heard all that I want to hear. I heard it, for 30 years. And for a while, I actually believed it.
Well, but, I understand and appreciate what you're saying because, and since
but if somebody really wants to learn, if you got a group that really wants to learn, I'll give them everything I know. And I don't want to take what I've learned to my grave. And there's we just scratched the surface tonight. Barely scratched the surface. Okay.
No, I totally understand.
Anything, when they get into that stuff, I'll be more than happy to deal with you and help you as long as we're moving toward a reasonable ending. I'm not going to help people continue to play the game of, hey, I want to be a patriot, but, I want to be free, but, I can't give up all this stuff. Well, I understand that. I don't hold that against you, but I'm not going to sit here and try to teach you what happens if you give it up, if you're never going to give it up.
Well, I totally agree with that, Al. I totally agree with that. You know, the problem is people don't know how to separate their intellect from their emotions. And
I understand that completely. I do understand that.
And sometimes
that's why, though. But that's exactly why I quit doing these things. I've lectured to tens of thousands, okay, and I've done seminars and I've done all this stuff and I've been on radio. I quit 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was beating my head against the wall, and you know, it finally came down to just me and my clients. And now I've retired. I'm completely out. I'm probably not going to live that much longer, and I really would like to share this with as many people as want it. But it has to be that they want it, not for curiosity, but because they want to apply. For me to get into deep down and really get down into the total package. Okay.
Yep, I agree, because, you know, the people who established the system that we live under today did not do it emotionally. They did it intellectually. And that's exactly right. They play on the people's emotions to blind them from the truth. And when you can separate one from the other and look at it as a sober judge of fact, you can find out what you got to do.
Yep.
And thank you for your.
You're right on it.
I thank you for your.
Thank everybody. I thank everybody for calling in and listening.
Oh, thank you so much for giving us your time and energy and knowledge. I hope we can do it again and have a follow-up call.
I
maybe
hope so
when
too,
my
and
voice
I hope
is
you
better.
get the film better real quick. My voice started going too, so they had two people on the call that couldn't hardly talk tonight. But I appreciate you, Angela, and appreciate you giving me an opportunity to talk to the people, and I look forward to talking to you further. Okay?
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and sharing what you know. It's important information. And I'm sure a lot of people will be coming back and downloading the audio, listening to it again.
I'll be sending you the, well, you already know how to get a hold of me. You've got my email.
Right.
And you can put it up if you want to. Whatever you want to do on that, be fine with me.
Oh,
okay?
Really? You're going to get bombarded.
Okay. Well, I've been there before, and I know how to cut them off if they aren't. If it's constructive, I don't care. If it's just to be destructive, then I'll cut them off.
Yeah,
that's
I understand.
So, good night to everybody. Thank you all, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. God bless you, and have a great weekend. Good night, everybody. It's been fun.
God bless.
Good night.
Night.
We'll see you again next Thursday. Saturday, you got Jack Bauer, got Protectors of Liberty in the morning, or in the earlier part of the day. And John Stewart on Sunday. And gosh, now it's November. It's almost over. 2012, and so far, no surprises. All right. I love you. Have a great weekend. Bye.